Welcome back to Stuff No One Told Us About Weight Loss. My name is Eloise and I'm here with Aaron. And today we're talking about something we hear quite a lot from people, and that is the idea that we can't lose weight if we love food too much.
It's quite an interesting one because you would think that obviously trying to lose weight, you still want to be able to do that in a way where you're eating the foods you love. And the fact of the matter is that you can. Even if you do love food, you can still lose weight. We have this warped notion that, in order to lose weight, we have to give up the things that we enjoy. And that's just simply not even true.
And it's understandable if you do think that way, because the entire industry has taught us that that is the truth, right? The fitness industry, the health industry, the weight loss industry, the diet industry, all of it, they push that message on us that you have to eat their specific diet foods, you have to eat these only clean or healthy foods. You're not allowed to eat these junk foods or these processed foods because they're what causes weight gain. But that is not true. Weight gain is caused by eating too much food in general compared to your activity levels. So that can be any type of food.
That's right. And it's never really spoken about in anywhere, really, that we're just overeating too much food in general. It's always portrayed as like, oh, it's the junk food's fault. It's the chocolate that the reason why I'm gaining weight. Or it's, I'm eating McDonald's or something like that.
Yeah.
It's always put onto one specific thing and it kind of gets a bad rap.
Well, the problem with that as well is that we then have this food guilt and this shame that comes after we eat those types of food that are considered bad.
Yeah.
And that is what moves us further away from being in a position where we're able to lose weight. Because when we're stuck in this guilt and shame spiral, we're not going to do what we need to do to actually lose weight. And so it's sort of a catch-22 where we feel like we can't eat the foods we love. And then when we do eat the foods we love, we feel guilty for it. And it's just this crazy cycle that a lot of us can't get out of. And I say that from personal experience as well.
Yeah.
Because when I first started learning how to lose weight and getting fit when I was much, much younger, I got into sort of the clean eating.
Yeah.
And I was taught this lesson from a very young age that in order to be fit and healthy and in order to have the body I wanted, I was going to have to eat these certain foods, and the foods that I really enjoyed, I was just going to have to learn to live without them.
Yeah.
Or try and create these elaborate substitutions. And that's just how it was. I didn't have a choice. And so when I finally learned that I didn't have to do that, it was just like the most mind-blown moment ever. And I was like, holy shit, I've wasted so much time trying to eat specific foods.
That's right. And I feel like it stems from everywhere. Even when we're younger, like I remember in school, like being taught the food pyramid.
Yeah.
And they made it sound like, the foods at the top were obviously like, oh, don't eat too many of these because, they'll cause all these complications. And that's where it sort of starts.
Yeah.
You get that contrast between good food, bad food, this is a dirty food, this is a clean food.
Exactly.
And then the labels just start going on and on and on and on. And we get so many people that say to us, well, I'm obviously just not going to lose weight because I love food too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can still lose weight even eating the foods that you love. You don't have to give those up.
Exactly. No matter how much of a foodie you are, weight loss is 100% possible for you to do while also enjoying food.
That's right. And the weight loss comes from the behaviors and the habits that you have around the food rather than the specific types of food that you're eating.
Yeah. And more specifically, that's eating when you're physically hungry and stopping at the point of satisfied, which is the point of about 80% full. And the problem is that the majority of us eat to 100% full or 150% full, where we're having to unbutton our pants.
Yeah.
Again, from personal experience, I am speaking. But the truth is, once you learn how to retune into your body and listen to, am I physically hungry? Is my stomach physically hungry? If yes, I can eat and I can enjoy what I'm eating. And then once I've had enough, I'm able to say I've had enough, no matter if there's food left on the plate. And I'm able to stop eating because I know that I can then eat that food anytime I want to.
That's right. And that's the key there is stopping at the point where we're satisfied.
Yeah.
In the beginning, because we've got all these beliefs going on in our head and we've got all this stuff going on, it's going to feel like we're depriving ourselves sometimes. But in reality, like just applying those two things, eating when we're hungry and stopping at satisfied, you'd be surprised how much better you feel in general just from controlling those two, like really just tuning into those signals and listening to your body. Because no matter what you're eating, like you can overeat on what's deemed as clean, healthy foods and you will still feel pretty shitty. You know, you still feel bloated. You'll feel like you've eaten way too much food because you simply have.
Yeah.
And so just on that point of like you can still eat the foods that you enjoy, what we're not saying is, you know, screw eating, you know, nutritious foods, just go and eat like ice cream and cakes and things like that. A lot of people will take what we say and run with it the opposite direction, and that's simply not true.
No extreme is good.
No, you don't want to go either end, because that's where you're living in the realms of like, well, oh, they just gave me a free pass. That means I can just go and like eat all this stuff that I know isn't probably as nutritious as like apples and oranges and things like that. Like, it's just saying to you, you can remove a lot of the rules and the guilt and the shame around eating specific foods. You don't have to feel guilty if you've eaten a piece of cake. But at the same token, like, we're not saying like just go and eat cake. Like, you can make the choices based on what you feel is best for you.
Yeah, and what makes your body feel good. That's what we're saying, right? No one would feel good physically if all they were eating is cake and chocolate and pizza every day.
Yeah.
You won't physically feel good, and you will learn that over time. So here's another interesting point is you might start off, and plenty of people start off when they remove the rules, they start eating more of those foods and they start eating more of the foods they love. And that is completely okay, because it's not black and white here. So just because you do that right now doesn't mean that's how it's going to be forever.
That's right.
That is a starting point for you. And then gradually over time, what you'll find is you start wanting to level up when you remove the rules. And eventually over time, you will level up slowly until eating well becomes your default, your natural setting. And that is what's happened for me. And that's what happens for many of our clients as well.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of the classic case of the pendulum effect, right?
Yeah.
So we have clients who come through and they're so conditioned into thinking this good, bad mentality. If you imagine a pendulum, and if you're watching the video, you've got, you know, a little ball on a string and it's pulled to one side, which is like clean foods, good foods only, no bad foods. And then the moment they hear like you can eat all the foods that you want, they instantly let go of that ball and it goes straight to the other side, and they go, oh, that means I can go out and just like stuff myself full of junk food, or, you know, what they deem as unhealthy foods. And that's not what we're saying. What we want you to try and do over time, that pendulum is going to find an equilibrium. We want you to have that equilibrium where you are starting to make the choices for yourself and realize that these unnecessary food rules are just creating more stress and more anxiety for you than actually helping you.
Yeah.
You know, you have perfect capabilities of being in control of how you eat the food, and therefore obviously what you eat. You know, if you choose not to eat cakes and, you know, desserts and stuff like that, that's completely fine. But at the same token, like, that's not saying that you have to go and only eat those foods or only eat good foods. Like, you get to choose.
Yeah. So whatever you do, you're making the decision from an empowered position.
That's right. And so when we're thinking in that sort of black and white thinking, what tends to happen is we tend to overeat on the foods that we enjoy, which could be something that we deem as unhealthy, purely because we've created a scarcity mindset by labeling foods as either good or bad. And then when we're eating bad foods, we feel guilt and shame. And therefore, we are depriving ourselves constantly. And when you deprive yourself of something, you want that thing even more. You know, think about like young kids. If you take something away from them, they'll throw a tantrum because they want that thing. You know, and that's what we're doing by completely putting these rules in front of ourselves and saying like, no, I'm not going to have that. I'm just going to try and like resist it at all costs. And all it does is create that scarcity mindset. And then when we get the opportunity to eat those things, we tend to overeat simply because we're not allowing ourselves to have it.
Yeah, and it's really coming from that place of fear. We start to fear these foods and fear what those foods will do to us. And the truth is, it's just food. So coming back to the idea of, I just love food too much. When we keep telling ourselves that we have a problem with overeating because we just love food, we're missing the opportunity to do the real work around our relationship with food. because we're saying, well, I just love food too much, therefore I can't possibly just eat it in moderation.
Yeah.
And you're just completely removing that opportunity to actually do the work where you can actually get to that place of, I can eat it in moderation and I'm very happy doing so.
That's right. That's right. You want to get to a point where you don't feel restricted and you feel like you can have it at any time and still enjoy it. And not only enjoy it if we're overeating the food and then using like, oh, well, you know, I just love food too much.
Exactly. And you can make that decision for yourself in whatever moment and say, yes, I want to eat that, or no, I don't. Or no, I choose not to. The truth is, you can enjoy food without overeating it. Loving food is not the problem here. The problem is your limiting beliefs around what foods are good and bad and what it takes to lose weight. The problem is the judgments around the food and what it means when you want to eat those foods.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing, like the judgments. You know, we all are guilty of doing it from time to time, whether it's with food or, you know, with drinks, anything, is we do something and then we instantly judge ourselves and say like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And like, oh, I'm so naughty for doing this. And that's where it starts. That's where it starts. This, like, you've got on one side this conversation which is like, hey, go and eat this food, and then on the other side you've got this conversation like, no, you shouldn't eat that food. And we're stuck constantly. You want to try and get to a place where we remove all that noise, remove all the stories and the BS that's going on in your head, and get to a point where you are happy with the choices that you make. You know, if you want to eat that chocolate cake, you don't feel any guilt. You just be like, I wanted it, I'm choosing to eat it, that's end of story.
And you're making these choices again from a place of feeling empowered to make decisions for yourself and feeling empowered to want to decide, not always for your current self, sometimes making decisions for your future self and making that okay as well.
That's right. Think about what the best version of you would say if they were right next to you. You know, they're not going to be talking to you and telling you off for eating certain foods, because that's someone who's got a reactive mindset towards it as well. They'll probably be asking you questions like, you know, did you stop at Satisfied? Like, do you feel good about that? Do you feel good with the decision to do that? Yeah.
Or do you feel good after eating?
Exactly.
Because sometimes, when you eat a piece of chocolate cake on your birthday, you feel good after eating that.
Yeah.
And that's all right.
Yeah.
And you can still lose weight doing that.
Exactly. So the main thing you want to think about is, what is your current food story versus what do you want your story to be about? And that's a crucial thing. Like, what's the current situation going on inside your own mind versus what do you want it to be? Do you want to go out to a restaurant and be constantly thinking, scrolling through the menu and going like, oh, I can't have this and I can't have that, and oh, I shouldn't eat this and I shouldn't eat that?
So do you want your food story to be around fearing foods and making decisions based on fear? Or do you want to be making decisions based on what you will enjoy or what is best for you and your future self? From a place of, I feel good about my choice versus I'm making this decision because I'm scared of the other alternative. Yeah. So for me, I know that I personally want to be able to enjoy food without feeling emotionally attached. So without feeling like, well, I need to eat that chocolate, or I need to eat that dessert, or I need to eat that bread that's on the table right now.
Yeah.
I want to feel like I can make a decision either way, and whatever I choose, I'm going to be happy with, and I'm going to move forward without worrying about.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be able to take it or leave it, but also enjoy making the choice to say, hey, I'm going to eat this food right now because I genuinely just want to enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think also too, half of it extends to the people who are surrounding you as well. So you want to get to a place where you are 100% confident in your decisions, irrespective of what anyone else says.
Because people will be like, should you be eating that? I don't think you should be eating that food.
That's right.
And you have to be able to sit there and say, look, I've made the decision for myself. I'm cool with it.
Exactly. And more often than not, the reason people will voice those opinions is because they're thinking the same story that you used to be thinking.
Well, they're coming from a place of fear.
That's right.
They're probably like, well, I wouldn't eat that.
That's right.
Because, oh, what's that going to do to my insides?
Or not even that, like they're of the belief that, you know, hey, I can't eat pasta because it's going to make me gain weight.
Exactly.
Or like, you know, I can't eat carbs and I can't eat this and I can't eat that. So the whole idea here is you want to question what are the beliefs that you're currently believing? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? And really start to get curious about those and go, well, what if it was different? Like, what if I, you know, was comfortable having this particular food? What if I didn't have shame and guilt around it? What would I do then? And that's the place we want to get to.
What if I could really love food and enjoy food and still lose weight? What would that look like?
Exactly. So guys, we hope that was helpful. It's oft, as we said at the start of this podcast, it's often a question and often a concern, a roadblock that we hear time and time again. And the fact of the matter is, we really have to start challenging a lot of these beliefs that we have and these rules that we place on ourselves so that we can get to a place where we feel empowered with the decisions that we make and 100% confident in those decisions. So hope this was helpful. Hope you got some great takeaways, and we will both see you next time.